What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dean, aka the Blue Crusader, and today we're back for a brand new video. But in today's video, we're actually going to be playing some Terraria. Now, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you a guide on how you can actually defeat the first boss, or at least one of the first major bosses, the Eye of Cthulhu. Now, the reason I'm doing this guide is because a lot of people have actually been tuning into the streams recently where we've been playing Terraria on a multiplayer map experience where everyone can kind of join and build. What I thought I'd do is I'd do some single player tutorials, because I think that the tutorials for single player Terraria will probably help a lot of people, and also they probably won't do too bad for views, I'm not going to lie. But today we're going to be looking into the Eye of Cthulhu. Basically we're on a world right here. As you can see, my guy has this boomerang, he has some really simple wooden armor, so we don't really have too much right now, and I have a lot of different bombs. Now, you may be aware in the bottom right there is actually a few different debug commands, there's a few different cheats. None of these cheats are actually enabled, so for those of you guys who are worrying that maybe I'm cheating this guide, none of the cheats are enabled. This is just a Terraria single player client, just so I can kind of mess around with stuff for videos, but as you can see, everything's red and nothing's enabled, so no cheats will be enabled for this tutorial. I'm only using these just to inspect items and look at certain things in the game for the videos. So basically, let's jump right into it. So this world is actually a pre-hard mode world, so as you can see, we're just on a normal world. There's no hard mode on this. This is before all of the juicy parts, I guess. But basically, pre-hard mode is my favourite kind of thing about the game, because most of the good stuff I know are actually in pre-hard mode, including the Eye of Cthulhu boss. So just going to quickly make a platform there so nothing can jump up. Unfortunately, it's not even though, so I kind of need to make it even. And you'll see that it's actually blood moon right now, so you're going to see some of these blood zombies. You're probably going to see some of these floating eyes, which are from the blood moon. I'm not sure how I've activated that, or if it's a random event, not quite sure. But basically we're going to be talking about the requirements to actually spawn this boss. So first of all, like we said before, Eye of Cthulhu is a pre-hard mode boss, and this is one of the first bosses you're actually going to encounter on a world. So most of you guys have probably seen the bosses. You've got like the King Slime, you've got Skeletron, you've got Eye of Cthulhu, and then you have the Wall of Flesh, and there's a few different other bosses as well. This boss can actually spawn automatically, so it can be event based or you can find the item. So it can spawn automatically when an early game of level progression or advancement's achieved. It can just spawn randomly out of the blue, and also you can spawn it manually by crafting the suspicious looking eye, which is actually an item. Now the thing about the suspicious looking eye is you can actually find this in dungeons as well. For some reason I can't open this door because the zombies are blocking them, but you can actually find the suspicious looking eye item in dungeons as well. It's not just craftable, it's also lootable. It's considered to be the second easiest boss on the game to actually defeat, so I think King Slime is probably the easiest one to defeat because it's kind of like a still thing, and although it does spawn some slimes, it doesn't really move. The reason why the Eye of Cthulhu can be slightly more of a challenge than King Slime is the fact that it's actually mobile and it actually flies through the air, and it also summons these strange eye things just like the ones that you see at night time on the game, so you need to be kind of careful, and because of that I'm going to be showing you some tips on how you can actually defeat it. So to spawn the Eye of Cthulhu, this is the kind of juicy part that most people are probably watching this video for, and then after I will cover how you can actually defeat him and which items are required to defeat him. So how to summon it, like we mentioned before, it does spawn when a certain level of progression in the level is achieved, which is actually kind of like an organic or natural way to spawn it and defeat the boss, but you can also craft it if you're not really at this stage yet. To craft this item, the Eye of Cthulhu is spawned using the suspicious looking eye. The suspicious looking eye is an item in the game, and you can only use the suspicious looking eye at 7:30 in game time, so this is around when the night time sort of falls, and it also has a 1 out of 3 chance of spawning every single night if certain conditions apply. Now these conditions are that the Eye of Cthulhu has not yet been defeated in the current world, because it'd be kind of anticlimactic and it can be pointless if you've already killed the boss, you've already got most of the loot you want, and then it just spawns randomly out of the blue. And the other conditions are at least one player in the world, or at least one player out of your friends or whoever's playing with you, has to have 200 life points and more than 10 defense points. So there's a few different things that you need to meet requirement wise to actually spawn and kill this boss. And then the last one is actually 4 town NPCs are required. So you need 4 different NPCs in your town. This could be in your base, in rooms, or just in some sort of town building to store them in. I'll also do a guide on how you can unlock different NPCs in the game, just so you can get prepared for that. But you need 4 different NPC spawns, you need 200 life points and 10 defense. You also need to have not defeated the Eye of Cthulhu before, and that's basically the organic growth. But if you're finding it hard to meet those requirements, if maybe they're too hard, or maybe you want to spawn it manually, you can craft it. Now I'm going to tell you how to craft it, because I've basically been telling you the past few moments that you can craft it, but I haven't told you how to do it. So basically everything actually centers around the suspicious looking eye. So you can find it in a chest if you're in a dungeon or in some sort of biome when you're looting stuff. It can be literally in any chest, I'm pretty sure, but I think the most common is kind of like an underground biome, but I have actually found them in the sea biome chest before, so I'm pretty sure it's not restricted to a certain place. The thing is you have to actually craft the suspicious looking eye, a demon altar. You can't actually go to a normal base and craft it, you have to actually go to the corruption. So you'll find the demon altars in the corruption, but you can also use the crimson altars, because when you first make a level it'll actually ask you if you want to spawn the level with the crimson biome or the corruption biome. Now the corruption biome and the crimson are kind of similar, although the corruption is slightly easier to tackle than the crimson, but it doesn't really have as much good loot as the crimson offers. So whichever one you pick, whether you spawn the crimson or the corruption, you'll have a different altar. That's the corruption altar, which is the demon altars, or the crimson altars. Now what you can do is you can actually craft the suspicious looking eye when you go to the biomes and when you find these altars, and they'll actually be underground. You've probably seen them, they're those kind of like weird brown altars you'll see underground, and then the crimson ones are obviously red, and you'll find them deep in caves. Now if you craft them at the crimson altars or the demon altars, you can actually craft this item by having 10 different lenses. Now you can find these lenses from killing the eyes at night time, so they're really easy to collect, and then you can go to one of these crimson altars and actually craft it. Okay, so you can actually craft these at the corruption, and what you need is basically you need 6 different lenses. I did originally think it was 10 lenses, but you only need 6 to craft this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to the corruption, and I know that the corruption is actually on the far right of my map because I've actually already unlocked it. Okay, so right now we're back at the corruption. Now that there's no enemies at the top, I'm just going to go down and I'm just going to show you how we can actually craft this eye. Now as you can see, these are actually the demon altars you're looking for. There's literally loads down here, and they're not hard to find at all. As you can see, there's also an orb here. I can actually destroy 3 of these. I think it is 3 to spawn the Eater of Souls, or the Eater of Worlds. So we can actually go to these altars, and what it does is it actually lets us craft other stuff. Then we can craft this suspicious looking eye, and it's going to give us an achievement here, and we can just pop this in our inventory. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use a recall potion. And the thing is about this is, like I said, you've got to wait till 7:30 PM in-game time to actually spawn this. So if I try and spawn it, it's not going to do anything when I click it. So you do have to wait till night time for this thing to actually spawn. So let's go over the behaviour of the boss first before we actually go into defeating the boss. So the boss has 2 different phases, and you'll notice this when you're actually fighting it. So basically, the first one will be is where it's flying through the sky, but most of its actual offensive moves are just summoning different eyes to fight for it. So if it flies into you and hits it, it will still damage you, but it's not really damaging you itself so much as long as you dodge it. The primary attack it's actually using for its offense in this phase, which is the first phase, is actually it summons these eyes to actually attack you. Now a lot of these eyes will come at you at once, so it's a very effective move, but as long as you actually have some sort of thing to take out the eyes and you have some mobility to actually get around the boss, it is kind of an easy fight. The second phase is where it actually opens up its jaw and it shows its teeth, and what it actually does is it goes on the full offense and attacks you, and it kind of has like a speed boost where it goes straight for you. And what it does at this phase is it's going straight for you itself. It's rather attacking you very offensively itself, and this is what happens when the boss is actually below half health. So it transforms into the second form, like I said, and it rams the player a lot more aggressively than the first time, and then it hangs around in the air for a period and then it boosts towards you. So it doesn't actually spawn the eyes in this phase, or the servants that the eyes are actually called. It doesn't spawn the eyes in this phase once you've got past the first phase. On the second one, it's just the main aggressor is the boss itself. So it doesn't really have defense, but it does have a strong offense because the attack points it has goes up by a lot. In expert mode it is actually quite different though, because the boss actually spawns a lot more eyes than normal, and also it does have more attack points, and the actual attack hits you a lot harder. So it's a lot different on expert mode, but we're going to be covering the normal modes right now because I'm just playing on normal mode. If it actually reaches the morning on the game before the boss is killed, unfortunately it will fly off the screen and despawn, so you do need to kill it in a certain time frame and defeat the boss while you can, otherwise the boss will despawn. We're at daytime, so we're just going to set it to nighttime. As you can see, we do have the modded client for a reason. It's not to effectively cheat. I am actually going to turn off God mode in this situation, and what we're going to do is we're going to type in time set midnight, and what this will do is it'll make everything really dark, and the time in the level will go straight to midnight. So it's going to put straight in the nighttime mode, and now we can actually spawn the eye. Obviously if you're in a normal game you're going to have to wait for the nighttime organically, but obviously since we have these commands to kind of debug everything, I can show you for the means of the tutorial. So I do have God mode off, but One thing you do need realistically when you're fighting this boss is a few different items. As you can see, I do have a quick band of regeneration. This is going to be really useful to fight the boss. And also, as you can see, I do have some ranged weapons. I have this agile wooden bow which I can use, and I have the boomerang. You definitely need ranged stuff in this fight because stuff close range really isn't going to cut it unless you have amazing armor to take the damage it's going to give you if it's close. But we actually have some range stuff, so I'm just going to try all this out. And some other items which you can do is actually the cloud in a bottle and then Hermes Boots. So Hermes Boots basically are going to give you a speed boost. So we're just going to put these on the item things here. Obviously after this tutorial I'm going to delete these items, but basically what we can do is we can put these here. And cloud in a bottle, what it will do is it will allow you to actually double jump. So as you can see now I can double jump and everything looks a bit different because I've got these boots on. We can actually do double jumping now. And also the Hermes Boots, what they'll do is when you run for a certain period of time, they'll make you go a lot quicker, so you can run really fast across the map, and this makes it a lot easier to avoid the boss's attacks. So I'm just going to spawn it now. We probably won't kill on the first time, and the reason being is because currently I don't really have good loot. But when you are killing the boss, I'd recommend to first of all have a ranged weapon and have the appropriate armor. As you can see, this is kind of a new world, so I only have wooden gear. So what I might have to do is I might have to add a little bit better armor to fight this and then show you the optimal build which you can use. But currently we do have the right accessories for it. So we're just going to pop this eye and we're just going to spawn it. And as you can see, this is the boss phase. So it's going to come at you like this. This is currently the first phase. In this phase, mainly what it is, like we said before, is kind of dodging these eyes. You need to dodge the actual boss itself, and what you can do is you can kind of jump over it, but it's impossible to dodge all of its attacks. You just kind of need to trick it, stand in one place, wait for it to push, and then you can kind of move out the way. But like I said before, you're really going to be watching for these eyes, and these small eyes are going to hit you for a lot of attack points. Now, what I would do is I'd bring healing potions. As you can see, I am getting hit for a lot, and I'd bring different range weapons which are going to damage the boss. Arrows are probably the best because you're going to actually hit the most shots. The boomerang, the thing about the boomerang is there's actually a big problem with it, and that is actually the fact that you're not actually going to hit all the time. Now, you want to make sure that you stay on the roof most of the time. If you're on the ground, there's going to be a lot of ads or mobs on the ground which are going to hit you. And like I said, these explosive arrows are going to do quite a lot of damage to the boss, which is really nice. And as you can see, we can just dodge that attack there. You want to try and range it. You want to keep it at a certain range. You want to have the mobility, which is what these accessories are going to give you. The cloud in the bottle, what that's going to do is it's going to help you avoid the boss. And if the boss is right next to you, you can use the cloud in the bottle to actually double jump over it like that, so you can dodge its attacks. So all in all, these items are really useful, but as you can see, I'm letting the boss get really close here, which is not a good idea. Now, he's kind of nearing to half health. I'm not sure if we're going to do it this first time. Like I said, we only have 100 arrows, and I'm not sure if that's actually going to be enough to kill the boss. But we're not losing too much health. What I would advise is originally the actual requirements for spawning the boss, you need to have 200 HP, like I said before. And currently we're just on normal fire arrows now, so these fire arrows are actually going to do good damage, but they're not going to do as good damage as the explosive arrows, and they're not going to blow everything up instantly like before. Obviously the explosive arrows, since they explode and they do a lot of damage, they will wipe out these eyes, which are adds, really quickly. So these eyes that he does spawn, you can kind of dispatch of them quickly if you have the explosive arrows, but in my situation, if you have to downgrade to the secondary arrows, they're not going to be as effective. Right, the boss is reaching half HP, and literally in a second the boss is going to be below half HP. So he has flown off, and I'm not sure if he's going to come back. It's still nighttime though. I don't know where the boss went. So we're going to set the time to nighttime, and we're going to have to spawn the boss again. What I've done is I've actually given myself kind of like endgame armor, so you can see how much easier it is when you actually fight with endgame armor. But as you saw before, I did get the boss to below half HP, but for some reason while recording this I am having problems with the boss despawning. Now this shouldn't really be happening, but for some reason the boss is despawning. So what I want to do is I want to try and get him to half HP as quick as possible. But like you saw before, I have included the footage of me nearly killing the boss before, so you can see that the gear I had before is definitely doable to kill the boss. But I just want to show you for the means of the phases, just to show you the second phase and killing the boss. So we've set it to midnight again. We have 360 HP this time and meteorite gear, so this is kind of like near the end of hard mode stuff. So we're just going to summon the boss, and I'll show you how much easier it is when you have a really powerful ranged weapon. Now this gun we're using is actually a space gun. This is basically part of the meteorite kit. So we have the space gun here, so we have really nice range on the boss, and the great thing about the space gun is we can kind of keep mostly at range and definitely hit the boss for a lot of life points, and then when he summons most of his eyes, as long as you're aiming kind of like at the mouth area, you're always going to hit the eyes that pop out, so you're kind of killing the ads or the boss's bodyguards, if you like, really quickly, so you can't really be touched. Also, if you have a good amount of armor like I have in this, it's kind of a breeze. Like I said, this is like the second easiest boss, so it's kind of a breeze at this point, and as you can see now, he's going to drop into a second form. So with this second form, like we said before, he is going to have more charged attacks where he's going to jump at you, and he has an extra charge to actually go towards you, and all you're going to do is you're going to have to kind of kite him, and the great way to do this is using Hermes Boots, because you can kind of get range. There we go, we have some slimes blocking me, and he's really not hitting me for much at this point because I do have meteorite armor. It's kind of overkill, but luckily for me, the boss hasn't despawned. I think before, since my gear wasn't great, it was possible to kill him, but he was despawning because I couldn't kill him quick enough before the actual time phase. So there we go, the Eye of Cthulhu defeated. We did get Demonite, we got Unholy Arrows, we got 2 ores and some health potion. If you want a starter kit to defeat the Eye without any of this end game overkill gear, I would recommend having a simple bow and trying to get as many explosive arrows as possible. Fire arrows will also work like we said before, but the explosive arrows are really where it's at, because the explosive arrows are going to do absolutely tons of damage to the boss, and it's also going to kill the ads really easily. I was using wooden armor and I did nearly kill him. It's very possible to use wooden armors, especially when you've got the accessories like the cloud in the bottle and actually Hermes Boots. You can definitely kill him with wooden armor, like I nearly did, but unfortunately he did despawn. So what I'd do is I'd get a good weapon that can damage him a lot, but you can also use my build that I did before because it's very doable to kill the boss. What I'd recommend though is try to get a good bow or a ranged weapon that does a lot of damage, and it's all about range in the situation. Use the cloud in a bottle to jump over him, like I said, close range, because you can kind of avoid most of his attacks, and use the Hermes Boots to get range on him, especially in the second phase when he's going to do those 2 or 3 different charges to dive straight into you. Using the Hermes Boots in that situation to get away is going to prove really effective, and then you can use your range weapon to put him down. So I hope this tutorial worked. Like I said, I did use a few different commands in this tutorial just to get certain items to showcase you certain different things. I just wanted to show you the boss phases, but for anyone who's thinking when I defeated him I did use really overkill endgame items, you can see from my actual build before that I was nearly killing the boss. The problem is I couldn't kill him quick enough because of the time. So you can use that build, but I'd recommend trying to get a different bow or a better bow than I did, and maybe even trying to get a little bit better of an armor, like gold armor. And I did start that encounter with 160 HP and I nearly did actually do it. So what I'd recommend is the optimal health points you need is at least 180 to 200, but I'd recommend 200, and try and go in there with gold or silver armor, like a decent set of armor, because I used wood armor and it didn't really prove too well. So I'd recommend getting silver or gold armor, having around 200 HP, and having a good solid range weapon. So that could either be a gun like a musket, or it could be a bow with explosive arrows, which works really well. So I'm hoping these tips did actually help. I just wanted to get that off my chest and explain why that even though I showcased me killing him in meteorite gear, there is actually a really nice beginner build you can use, like my first one, to defeat the boss. So I hope these tips helped you. I hope you guys can defeat the Eye of Cthulhu and advance in your world. If this was useful, if you want to see more Terraria, then I will definitely do videos on the other bosses and other tutorials. So if you liked the video, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for daily gaming videos. I don't just play Terraria, I play a lot of different games like Fortnite. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss stuff. Drop a like if the tutorial helped you, because obviously the more likes the video gets, the more YouTube will promote it, which means we can help a lot more people with this and grow the channel a little bit quicker. And the more likes on the video and the more comments and the more views it gets, the more that I'll know that these kind of tutorials are helpful, and then I can actually make more. So I do want to do Terraria videos if they are successful, because a lot of people are really enjoying the live streams that I do on Terraria. And currently, as you can see, before we close out this video, we are taking part in a slime rain, and this is kind of like a rain of slime. Slimes are dropping out of the sky, and what's really cool with this is actually a great way to gather a lot of gel so we can use it with bombs. So now that I've finished this tutorial, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scrap all of this gear because I don't really need this gear. I will obviously have the life points, but I want to kind of get rid of most of this stuff because I want to kind of progress naturally. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Damn. punk, you better back up. Try and play the role and yet a whole crew will act up. Get up, stand up, come on, throw your hands up. If you got the feeling, then jump across the ceiling. Muggs is a